Hello everyone and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just like in our last video, which I will link to somewhere in this video, in which we talked about Star Wars The Bad Batch. It's debuting on Disney Plus on May the 4th to kind of follow up to the Star Wars The Clone Wars series, which was really renowned and was one of my favorites. Well, today we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. I'm bringing on my good pal and fellow Star Wars fan, Justin. Justin, thank you so much for coming on the channel today. How are you doing on this glorious day?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It truly is an honor to be here. And may I just say, you are my favorite Star Wars channel.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Although I don't have any subscribers, but that is a nice note. You know, maybe one day when I'm famous in 5 years, you can go back and you can be my first subscriber.
I think I might already be, but I just want to say it might have been a bit overgenerous calling me a Star Wars fan.
You were a fan.
I do like Star Wars The Clone Wars. I really like it. It's a great show.
So kind of going off that, so I guess you'd classify myself as more of a hardcore Star Wars fan. I don't read all the books, but there are a lot of them, or some of them that I do read. So the characters that we're going to be seeing in Star Wars The Bad Batch were introduced in Season 7 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Now, some, including myself, felt that Season 7 was a little bit choppy. It didn't really feel like an entire season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. There were a lot of episodes that were still unfinished that I hope to one day see. However, I think one good story arc that they did have in Season 7 was to set up this Bad Batch series. How do you think it was set up? Do you think it was handled well?
I think they did a good job. They gave, like, a brief introduction into what the characters are about, and they gave, like, just enough about each character so that there's a bit of intrigue about who they are, like why they're weird clones and all that.
And I also think they did a good job kind of making them like each fit a archetype of a what do you call it? Stereotypical action.
It's literally just the A-Team but with clone troopers.
That is a good way to say it. Yeah, that does make sense. And then Echo, what would you?
Well, I got an action figure of him when I was like 7, so he's one of my favorite characters, but I don't really remember him. He'll be interesting to see, like, what he does. I personally think he's still, like, possessed by, like, the evil ghost or whatever they did to him.
That would be interesting. I guess that kind of gets into another point. Do you think in this series it'll kind of start from a fresh starting point, or do you think it will be expected for viewers to have already seen Star Wars The Clone Wars in order to kind of understand The Bad Batch to its full capacity?
Yeah, I don't think the Star Wars The Clone Wars knowledge will be essential. I mean, we didn't really learn anything too key to the characters. They're just, like, genetically engineered clones. It might be important for Echo's story, but I imagine they'll, like, flush that out well enough within the series so that won't be essential.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because I think Star Wars The Clone Wars, one of its good properties that the whole show really had is, well, once they got into telling stories by story arcs, is you could kind of just jump in at any point, and there would obviously be like character development and some plot points that might be lost on you if you were just thrown into the series in the middle of a season, but for a large part, with each story arc, it kind of began and ended a complete story. I think that might be similar in this series, and I guess that leads into my next question. Do you think this will be a story arc type series like Star Wars The Clone Wars, how we saw 2, 3, 4 episode arcs, or do you think this will be more like Star Wars Rebels where it's linear from one point, that's the season premiere, to the end point, which is the season finale?
I think it'll be linear, and that has both good and bad things. I mean, you could just spend a lot more time with your cast of characters, so there's more time you can see about them and characterize and get to know them. But I feel like it also hurts the world-building element, which I think Star Wars The Clone Wars did really well. It seemed like each character you could picture having their own, like, life and story because there were so many episodic, like, side character things where it made you care more about each character. But I mean, I think that's, like, well established enough throughout the series, but also, like, you'll get to see less. So I think that was one of the strengths of Star Wars The Clone Wars, but I'll doubt they'll do that here just because I don't think they're going to want to focus on as many characters.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree, and depending on the length of this series, this could almost be viewed as, like, an extended Star Wars The Clone Wars story arc if you think of it that way, just focusing on Star Wars The Bad Batch and how their story began in the Clone Wars and then branched off into this new series. So I just have a couple questions that we can just go through and discuss before the start of the series, and then we can come back and see how right we were. So first off, Justin, you know how Star Wars The Clone Wars opened with the narration. It opened with a little lesson that would be displayed, the moral of the story, at the beginning of each episode. Do you think we'll see that on Star Wars The Bad Batch? I think possibly for the first episode, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. I'm not sure if we'll see it for every episode of the series. What are your thoughts?
Did they do it in Star Wars Rebels?
No.
Yeah, then I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that was just like Star Wars The Clone Wars thing. Although I did like it. I feel like it gave the series some kind of unique charm. It literally added nothing, and a lot of times the lesson meant almost nothing. It was just like, this is going to vaguely pertain to the plot. If you've already seen the episode, then you can go back and go like, wow, they just spoiled the episode. But no, I don't think it really added or subtracted anything, so I doubt they'll do it.
All right, so this next question, I'm not sure how I feel about it or if I really have a specific answer, but do you have a member of the Bad Batch that you are most interested in seeing?
Yeah. I don't know his name. He's the one with the luscious flowing locks of hair.
Hunter. It's Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter. I want to know more about Hunter because he has a cool knife, and I want to know how he got the cool knife.
I think I want to know more about Wrecker. I really like the scene in The Bad Batch where it's Anakin and Wrecker, and Anakin just gives him the detonator to blow up the ships. So I do think Wrecker's probably the most one-dimensional, though, out of all of them. So if I'm looking more out of a character standpoint, I either say Omega, who was the new character introduced. I don't know if that character is technically on The Bad Batch. I think some people were speculating that Omega is a female clone, which would be very interesting. No, I don't think anything's confirmed yet, but I want to see what that's all about. And then also Echo, because he's probably he's definitely the most complex character. In Star Wars The Clone Wars, we didn't see how he reacted. Remember when Fives got killed? Well, Echo
Rest in peace.
Yes, well, Echo never found that out. So I kind of hope to see that scene in The Bad Batch where he finds out that I think Fives, that probably his best friend, that his best friend was killed.
All his friends are dead. Order 66 happened, didn't it?
Well, that leads us into my next question. What point in the Star Wars timeline will this series take place? I think the majority of it will be right after Order 66. However, I think this series will begin either before Order 66 or right at Order 66, and that would really just have a lot of action sequences early on in this series. But do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I'm not. I think it'll start after Order 66 just because we last see them like a week or a couple days before Order 66. So I'm not sure that'll work out from a time perspective. I mean, it'll be cool either way, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I guess it's kind of hard because with how the episodes are originally made for The Bad Batch, it's kind of hard to place it in the timeline because I believe there were like 40 or 50 some episodes of the Clone Wars that they were still going to make. And the Bad Batch arc was going to be towards the beginning of that 50 some number. They only ended up making about 12 of those 50, so it's kind of hard for me to place it on the timeline, but that will be interesting. Kind of going off the question about what character of the Bad Batch you're most interested in seeing, what secondary character or cameo do you want to see the most in the series? For me, that's an easy one. Anakin Skywalker. He was the character from the main cast of the Clone Wars characters that had the most interaction. Well, I guess Captain Rex as well, but Captain Rex and Anakin had a lot of interaction with the Bad Batch. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Anakin at the beginning of the series, although I don't know. It kind of really depends on when the series begins, if we'll see that or not.
I want to see Darth Maul do something that's not lame for once. They've had him in like 8 different Star Wars. They had him like Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebel and the first Star Wars movie and like Solo, and all it does is stand there and get his legs cut off. Just let him do something cool for once, because isn't he? He's on like Tatooine or whatever with like running a mafia or something. So.
Oh yeah, that's from Solo. Clone Wars ended with him flying off, but I guess. So yeah, I guess he could be in the series. I hadn't really thought of that. That's interesting.
Let him do something for once.
All right, so kind of building off that, what characters from Star Wars The Clone Wars do you think we'll see on Star Wars The Bad Batch? I hadn't thought of Darth Maul. I think we'll definitely see Emperor Palpatine. I think we'll see C-3PO and R2-D2 in a cameo. I think we'll probably see Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka in some capacity. I think we'll see Yoda, which we'll get to on our next question, or in a couple questions. And other than that, well, Captain Rex and Commander Cody, I think those will probably be the characters we see from the Clone Wars on the Bad Batch. Well, obviously the Bad Batch also.
I think we'll see Echo, because he may or may not be a member of the Bad Batch.
And then we'll also see Tarkin, because he's confirmed.
I think we'll probably see some kind of Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt.
One of them, or like...
What about the little baby, his son?
We're going to see some of the weird space alien mafia.
I think we'll see Boba Fett, too. So Star Wars The Bad Batch premieres on Disney Plus on May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. It will be followed just a couple days later on May the 7th with the second episode in the series. The first episode is over 70 minutes long, and based on this information, I have really high hopes that it's 70-some minutes, because they just straight up took the already mostly completed Star Wars The Bad Batch and Yoda Go to Kashyyyk arc and finished the animation up, and they edited it together as one full episode, and that'll be the season premiere. I would absolutely love that. That's why I think Yoda will be in this series. Do you think that's a little bit of a long shot, or do you think maybe I'm onto something?
I think it'll be like how they did the first Star Wars The Clone Wars movie.
Yeah, but do you think it'll be the unfinished arc of Star Wars The Clone Wars? You do not.
I don't, because I think they don't want to put too much pressure on Star Wars The Clone Wars, because this is an original series-ish by Disney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not to cap on our mouse overlords too much, but I feel like from a marketing standpoint, a lot of their audience of the original Star Wars The Clone Wars is older now, so they're probably not going to want to capitalize on that as much. They're probably going to want to try to draw on like a new generation with the cartoon animated series. So I think they're going to place less heavy of an emphasis on that and try to get more new fans with it.
See, I actually completely disagree. I think this is designed for fans of Star Wars The Clone Wars specifically. It's the same animation, the same characters that were introduced in Star Wars The Clone Wars. And I think Disney's coming out with other animated shows later in the year, which are going to be a different animation style. And I think those will be geared more towards introducing a new generation of children to the audience. But my hopes are that this series is geared towards fans who grew up with Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Then riddle me this. Why wouldn't they just make more Star Wars The Clone Wars?
That's a question that I've had. I mean, we've talked about it before. There are a lot of episodes still unaired that they were starting to work on and they never finished. That is a good question. I guess my hope is that this kind of leads into them doing that. And if the first arc, or if the first episode is of those 4 episodes from Star Wars The Clone Wars, that would be one way of starting to complete some of them. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think there was also an 8-episode arc, which was written into a book. Maybe one day we can see that finished. That could be made almost into a movie. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Well, Justin, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for coming on the YouTube channel today. And we'll have to see what's in store when Star Wars The Bad Batch debuts on Disney Plus on May the 4th. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.